Sorry guys, we're testing this out right now. We're live.
Audio check, audio check. I think it's
Is your
working.
audio going through?
Let me just pull it up.
Yo, wildcard, you have to accept the options for audio, include your
Yep,
audio.
already did.
All
I was on it like a fat kid on cake.
right.
I swear.
Fucking BK, bro. The BKs. Damn. The terminology too. This is the terminology we
What do
used
you
back then
mean?
was so different.
What do you mean about like BK?
BK. That's so in Halo.
Jesus
Instead of
Christ.
like instead of noobs, dude, we call them a BK, which means bad kid, dude.
Bad
So
kid.
Oh,
yeah, dude. So you were BK, bro. You weren't a noob. Like people
well,
forget about that.
what do you mean like what do you mean bad? What do you mean bad kid?
You were
Like
bad at the game, so you were a bad kid, dude. Get
oh,
out of here. Yeah.
I was
So it's
all
like
right.
instead of
I
like
mean, I didn't
yeah.
do I didn't do like I wasn't like taking it so seriously like with that streamer Jinxie. I wasn't putting my dick on my or anything, but like I was okay. I
Bad
mean, I
kid.
could definitely maximize shots. You know.
Is the audio coming in properly, Doc?
Everything seems to be coming on pretty good. I was
Can
just
you hear
checking out.
wildcard?
Uh,
Do a mic
shit, I
check. Your
don't.
wildcard.
Oh yeah, it's
Hmm?
actually it's working perfectly. Yeah, we're good.
Is it working fine? All right, all right.
We are
Thank you,
good.
Doc. Doc is one of our new co-hosts, or he's trying to be a co-host. Welcome to
Trying.
the stream. This is the Ego Podcast, episode 1. So you've
Ego,
heard some pre-talking. Yeah, Ego Trip, bro. It's the
ego
Ego Trip.
podcast.
It's the Ego Trip, bro. It's great name. Got like a whole like beginning video of it and everything. But
Right on.
yeah. So we're trying to like talk today. So for opening episode is we were going to go with the Clancy what it was like back then. And I
So,
think that's kind
Nuker,
of
are you gonna
like
want like my era kind of clan scene or like Wild Jokers?
oh we're talking about Wildcats type scene. So we brought
Oh,
Wildcat in here.
okay. So that's like
He's an
way
old
before me, right?
school. Yeah, this is way before you, bro.
Yeah,
This
that's
is
what I was thinking.
you're like 20, right? You're like 20 years old, right? Roughly 1920.
Yep,
You're like a
you
young
were
buck,
right
yeah.
on the money.
Yeah. Yeah, you were like 5. Like when we were talking
Oh,
RC, so it was
yeah.
He's
yeah,
like,
you were
you
like
were
5 years old, bro.
5.
You were
He's like,
5, bro.
Five.
he's like, dude, I'm still discovering my dick. Like, it was like,
Bro, I was probably still drinking out of
Right?
bottles back then. What you talking about?
right,
Yeah,
you know.
right. Yeah,
Like,
I was
but
probably
so
still
see,
in
you gotta
that's
diapers.
that's a good thing. That's a good thing though, because that's about the only time you could suck on a titty and not catch a criminal charge. You know.
Oh my
Like,
god.
like,
Oh my goodness.
so I mean,
Man.
no.
yeah, definitely. You know, that's a good thing. It's not necessarily a bad thing, man. My life is kind of halfway over, so to speak, and you're still in the prime of your existence. So there's always
Right.
new things to learn. I mean, don't believe everything you read on the internet either. Because that's a big thing
Oh, of
for
course.
at least from what I've seen.
Oh, dude.
Especially with the whole Xbox incident that just passed.
The way
What
the scene
Xbox
is, the
incident?
way the scene is now, man, and like this is something that we're trying to clean up right now. Is
hmm
dude, it's all like false accusations and throwing mud at each other, bro. Like
Mm.
not all of it. I mean, some of the stuff is real, dude. Out
What do
there,
you
but
mean? What
like
do you mean,
it's
like false accusations, though? Like, what are you getting at?
well, people just like people are taking things out of context and like manipulating them, and I'm like,
Oh,
Well,
dude,
I'm
that's
seeing
just
like
every day now.
that's been like time immemorial. That's like the political landscape that we've got going on right now. And just in general, just in any kind of, even in entertainment, to that degree. Everybody. It just depends on what a group of people believes, and
hmm
where and how heavily influenced that group of individuals are. You know, like I was talking before about like influence and whatnot. Like everybody believed that Xbox was done, it was over with, that they were gonna never make another console, and then Phil Spencer came out and said no, that we're not selling our major like exclusive titles to like
hmm
all the other consoles. We're selling just four, okay? And he explained that there was a 20-year roadmap for Xbox, that they're not going to stay. And then one of the, I forgot her name. She's one of the female producers on she has her own podcast and stuff like that.
Is Bonnie Ross, bro?
Yeah, I think that was her name. Yeah, and she
Yeah.
said that by the end of this year, we've got another piece of hardware coming out. She didn't specifically say another console, but I'm guessing that's what it's going to be. I mean, I could be wrong, but it's like, so don't always believe what everybody says, especially about people you know. You know, because like
Yeah,
you
and
don't know.
that's the thing that's the thing we're trying to get on, man. Is that like the
Mhm.
clan scene right now just, dude, they just throw mud at each other, bro. Like it's
Well,
hurting the brand.
Mhm.
I'll go, yeah. So hurting the brand as a whole. It's like we perceive ourselves as like going out like, we'll just take KSI as an example, right?
Mhm.
Like KSI back in the day, man, did a lot of cool shit. They did the whole Future Leaders of America thing, dude. They did the whole like nonprofit stuff like that and whatnot. And so they did a lot of cool things in the scene. And I'm like, their brand was okay. Yeah, they had some issues here and there, what every community does. But I'm like, they did things pretty properly, right? You had us. We were
Mhm.
assholes. We were fucking assholes, and we were esports oriented. But this is before esports was big, right? So like the Clancy was like a huge thing back then, and it's just like but we didn't really. Our shit wasn't like thrown onto the public. You know what I mean? Like everything was kind of like, okay, well, this person did this. Sweep it under the rug, bro. Let's like, just excommunicate that guy, man. Let's
Let
try to
bygones
act
be
as
bygones.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And like that guy would just get eliminated from the scene completely, right? And then like nowadays, it's like, man, like if one person does something bad in your group, all of a sudden your whole group is like shamed for it. And I'm like, because it's all over social media, and I think that's like, I don't know.
Well,
I think that's
I think
just
the main thing is like there are people that rightly so are getting labeled as such. There's no reason that they shouldn't. They've earned that title through multiple attempts of people trying to give them the benefit of the doubt.
yeah,
So in that case, yeah, I'm totally understanding of that. However, there are some people that are unjustly accused and unfortunately so, because a group of people came together and says, you know what, I heard this, I heard that, and this is, and this is what it is. And when you get a group of people, they get that mob mentality, and
yeah,
then the next thing you know, you're sitting there, and it doesn't matter what you say, you're kind of SOL. It doesn't matter what you say. You get two choices: either walk away gracefully or get your name
mhm,
badgered.
yeah.
And
Well, so here, I'm gonna give you an example, dude. I'm gonna give you an example,
mhm,
right? Here's an example. And Top Dog was there during this whole thing, right?
Mhm.
mhm,
Like there was this guy who's in our group who accused me of a bunch of crazy shit. It was like literally like attacking me in like multiple angles, right? Everything he said, none of it was true. Um, but 8 months go by, he approaches me again, and he begs for me to like forgive him, right? And he literally writes a retraction letter saying that everything he said was full of shit. And I
Do you
have
want
the
to name
letter.
drop? Because I know who you're talking
No,
about.
no, 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 no. You don't need a name drop, bro. But like, apologizes to me in cold heart, and
I heard the sigh there. Just
yeah,
aw.
literally writes me a letter saying that he was manipulated and controlled by my enemies, and they were like basically blackmailing him to accuse me of certain situations. Which I have the letter of him saying that he apologizes to the Ego family, apologizes to like what he did and whatnot. So
Dude, you are
that's the
detailing exactly what it says in the letter. I saw the letter too.
yeah, yeah, and that's what I'm saying. I'm like, so like, how can like in the scene where like people are buying for influence and people are buying for views, that like they want to be like the top dog in the clan scene, but like it's just then you're using this venomous like poison to
Do you
attack
want,
people,
do you want me to tell you what I think it is? I think
and
it's
oh yeah,
anyone sort of wanting to make it to the top for their 5 seconds of fame, all right? And they think they're gonna either do it with this group or that group, and then they realize, oh well, these groups going nowhere. I gotta go back to the old group. And not only that, I miss the old group because they got all my friends and stuff in
God, it
there. And this
reminds
one
me
just
of
kind of sucks.
that old school movie with Dan Aykroyd and Eddie Murphy in it called Trading Spaces. You think it's great to be in someone else's shoes until you're actually there, and then you realize how hard it is. Like
Yeah.
there's no level of like influence or fame that is gained without some type of work involved, whether that be psychological, physical, or whatever. It's like, and I think that's the big thing that people like when it doesn't go their way, they automatically just want to like bail. And it's like,
Mhm.
and it's like, but when you first started, you came out and said, "Man, I got you. I'm gonna support you. I'm gonna do this." We're homies for life. And then they're just like, first, first scene of like big booty bitches, and he's like, "I'm gone. I'm going to the other team now." Like, but like,
Yeah.
getting back to the point at hand. But it was like, they when they do that, there's kind of like early warning signs when that happens too. You'll start noticing like when they talk to someone and who they're talking to. Originally they were supposed to be talking to you. If they kind of like veer away from that and they're not talking to you, now I admit you want to get somebody when you're doing clans into a position of some sort of leadership, whatever that may be. But if they start veering away from your advice and they think that they got a hold of it, and the whole thing about like reading the room, you know,
Yeah.
when they stop reading the room and they start saying, "Well, this is what works. This is what. How do you know? How many people have you talked to? You know, who's coming into parties with them? Who are they talking to? Um, that could easily. Those are kind of like easy signs to see that the person is kind of on their way down and out, so to speak. And
Yeah, I get that.
I mean, it's sad to say, but I've seen it happen way more times than not, especially being around a lot of clans. And shit talking is well, there's two types of shit talking. There's fun shit talking, obviously, like the
Mhm.
ones we have when we play games together, and then
Yeah.
there's the hurtful,
I'm gonna
trying
go after your
to.
family shit talking, right? Is that
Well,
Oh
what
yeah.
it
yeah,
is?
yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
and it's like, but like, then there's the shit talking that people do behind people's backs. There's the shit talking that people are doing to discredit you, you know, and that's not the good kind, you know. But what I've
But
found out is that if you let people, kind of like I take this from the first Rush Hour. If I let people talk, listen to them talk, and look at them while they're talking, I find out how full of shit they really are, and it's kind of in that wheelhouse.
I get
So
that
from
100%.
hmm and you just have to really kind of like, and there's a certain grace that comes with being a wallflower that I've mastered over the years. I didn't really like plan on it. Like, I'm very outspoken in some cases, but like for the most part, I've really kind of learned. I started out as a wallflower. I was not a socialite as people see me today, and it's one of those things, man. When you deal with that, you just got to kind of let them kind of talk themselves in. The old school saying, "Dig yourself a hole." Talk themselves into a hole, because they're gonna do it. And the longer they do it, the worse they look.
Oh, dude. Dude, I had to sit down, I think this is about 6 months ago. And this is about like I'm, again, Empire's not a clan, but like we have a history in it, right?
hmm
Um, so I sat down with like three leaders. It was me and Unarmed were sitting with three leaders, and we were talking about building a network with these guys. And I'm like, tell me what the difference between your clans are, and like pitch me your community and pitch me your like leadership, like pitch me your like if you're gonna like sell me something, dude, do it. It's like, well, what makes you different than the rest? They didn't know what the hell they were talking about.
Yeah, that's the
They.
big thing. Like for instance, when I was part of old school AG, that was like the first clan I think I really got. Well, I got involved with
Hmm.
KSI and then got recruited to AG later, and it was the big thing that I there was a specific role made for someone like me, and that was kind of like a mediator role. That's what I did. Like I'd talk to people, kind of find this middle ground where we could agree on something, more or less agree to disagree, because like we like to like look at life as this black and white kind of scenario, and negotiation and talks and stuff like that, and life isn't always that simple. So enter yours truly, and so when I would talk to people and try to encourage them to come in there, I would tell them, I'm like, well, we'll just kind of figure out where you fit, we'll figure out if there's something we can do, because 9 times out of 10, a lot of people, it takes years. I'm going to say that too, of aging to, get to a point to where you can kind of figure out where you fit in things in society and where you belong. And I think just like a lot of the younger crowd is looking for a place to belong and have fun, you know? And that would be like usually when I recruited people, I'd recruit people under genuine conditions. Like, listen, we're going to figure out where you fit, but if you come in here, there's really no, like, we'd like you to tell your friends about us and stuff like that, but we're not on the recruiter market like Jehovah's Witnesses. It's like, and
Jehovah's
I
Witness.
would use humor. That was my big thing. Because we've got enough negativity in the world. You need to get a little bit more. We need to get smiles out there, And
No,
that
I
was kind of
agree.
my thought. That was my
I
thought
agree
on
with
it. That's how I
that.
would.
The scene has shifted so much too, man. We went from like thousands and thousands and thousands of members to, maybe like we're talking maybe maybe I'd say probably we're pressing like 30 or 40,000 members back in the day, right? I don't know if you remember that, but now we're at like a total of maybe like 3 or 4,000.
Yeah, and I remember when
If
it was down to
that,
like 30.
yeah.
Yeah, I
KSI
mean,
was down. KSI like once held a house of like 20,000. Like now from what I heard like a couple of weeks ago, they were down to like maybe like 50 members at one point, and then they had to restructure, rebrand, and redo everything because like what they were doing was like wrong. How do you go from like 30,000 to 50? Like that is ridiculous without
must
being
have
like
been
doing
disbanded or
something.
anything.
it can become like, and in most places, um, like people kind of feel outcasted. I've seen a lot. And I was playing back in the day with people, and they just kind of feel like, or somebody will say something and they won't go to the person that the specific subject is about or whatever, and misinformation basically, and that becomes a real issue.
Yeah.
So and yeah,
Well, Bill's a pretty good friend of mine right now, and we've been talking about it a lot lately. This whole like scenario with where the scene is, and that's kind of why we're bringing it up today. And I want to bring Bill on the podcast as well, probably sometime this week. Bring him on the podcast. So
yeah, that's fine. I don't
stay
see why
tuned to
not.
that. The founder of
It's
Seven
always
Sevens
good to
will be
get
on our
other
podcast.
perspectives from various other people. I think that's always a good thing too, to kind of keep an open mind on that aspect. Because so many people like literally are closed-minded that they're not willing to kind of, look at, understand where someone's coming from. I'm not going to say like, oh, nobody gets it. I'm not going to say that. It's just the fact of trying to understand where that person's coming from. I think that's a big thing too.
Well, from what I've been seeing, and I'm running the academy right now, from what I'm seeing is there's a real lack of like leadership in the scene.
Lack of what?
Like a lack of leadership. Like
Oh,
does
yeah.
not exist, bro. Does not exist. It's like
Well, I mean,
it's like the great leaders from the KSI group and like the Empire group from back in the day was they just don't there's just like nothing there. It's like I'm trying to like it's like you're trying to like build stuff with like clay, but your material sucks, bro. like and then it's
well, I mean,
there's been
yeah, I mean
a whole
that
decade of like no training.
there
Okay.
is, but there's a lot of finger pointing too. That's the big thing.
Mm-hmm.
The minute, or as they say in the business world, they pass the buck. Oh well, so and so, and then they point to that guy and try to like, pass the problem on to him. You know,
Yeah.
if it
Yeah.
becomes too much for them, and it's like instead of like having some kind of problem, and I think that's a generational thing right now. I don't think it's so much, and it's not their fault. I'm not saying it's their fault. I'm just saying that when I was growing up, if you had a problem, you had to figure that shit out. You know, like you, not your dad, not your mom, you know, not your best
Yeah.
friend, you know, your best friend, they were there for sort of like a moral support, but in general, you had to figure it out. And that's kind of what put me into like a couple leadership positions when I was in, because that's what I was doing. Problem solving is a big thing. You know, you can't ask Siri for everything. I'm sorry, guys. You can't ask
Exactly.
the other, what's her name? The other one on Google,
Cortana.
Cortana. You can't ask Cortana
Yeah.
everything. You know.
Or hey
You
Google.
got to kind of go through the footwork and do it yourself. Or do the work yourself. It's one of those things, man. I think it's almost like a lost art. You know what I'm saying? Like it's a lost art. Problem solving
But
is a
it's only
lost
been
art.
10 years, bro. Like, that's the crazy thing. It's only been 10
Yeah.
years, man, and it's like non-existent. And I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
so one of the examples I have, and I'm gonna name drop this person. All right, this person definitely needs help with like leadership, and I may get lambasted for it, I guess. But his name is Nova J Panther, like a head of HGN, whatever. That kid is great. He's a great recruiter. Great fucking recruiter. Can get tons of people in his crew. Like I've seen him build the community up like 5 or 6 times. But I've also seen him collapse the community 5 or 6 times. And I'm like looking at that and I'm like, dude, we've been around, Empire's been around in one way or another for the last like 15, 16 years, bro. Hasn't really collapsed once. We've fallen a couple times, gotten back up, but like we haven't fully like been decapitated. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I get that.
Um,
May I throw an idea out there?
mhm.
Could it possibly be the fact that uh that the generational gap is so freaking like large that people have forgotten with great power comes great responsibility? You know, I hate to throw that. It sounds kind of cliche, but just because you can do something, you know what I mean, doesn't mean you get,
I think the system's broken, bro.
well, in what way?
I look at like okay, so I see these like military based clans, right? And they'll have like this ranking structure, okay? They'll have this like
Oh,
massive like ranking
okay.
structure. And I think
Yeah.
I think that like the idea of like I've heard it. I've heard it 100 times. I'm like, we want to build a safe, inclusive community. We want to build like a place where you feel like a safe spot for you to play in. We want to like do this and this and this, and like it's just the same fucking garbage, spoke over 1,000 times, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
I don't think that the clan scene, because you got to remember the clan scene used to be like, dude, we're gonna play Halo, man, and like that's the Halo division. Like there's a Call of Duty division, and you're just gonna play Call of Duty. Like there's this division, you're only gonna play
Oh,
this
yeah,
specific
yeah,
game.
yeah.
And the way that it is,
Um,
the way that it is now, right? Is that like, dude, I have Game Pass. I have 150 games.
right.
I'm
Just
not
like
gonna
food.
play the same game. Yeah,
It's like,
yeah, yeah. So
no,
I'm
I'm
not gonna
saying
play
I
the.
get what you're saying, and to isolate somebody into one category when you have that multitude of choices, that's like going to the buffet and saying, I'm just gonna eat salads. Like, no, dude, you're gonna try other
Yeah,
things at the buffet, and I think people need to be a little bit more flexible with that now. Like
yeah.
it's not such a singled out kind of category of gaming anymore, and that's Microsoft did that with the Game Pass, blew the
Yep.
doors wide open. That people were not expecting that, you know.
And I'm like, if you look at the American way of doing things, right, it's like I want my cake and eat it too now, right? That's kind of where it is.
Mm-hmm.
And you're looking at it like that, and you're like,
Well, essentially, you
How
can
can I
now
use this old
because if
fucking model? I'll go.
essentially you can now because you literally have this multitude of games that is
Hmm.
updated roughly every month or two or whatever. You know, it's
Oh yeah,
updated
it's
so
awesome.
often, And it's like it's always changing. So in order to facilitate something that would fit within that category, you would have to hold like a roundtable meeting with certain members or whatever, and get the other ones involved if they want to be in there and go talking and kind of doing a door-to-door census, like they've done so many times before, and kind of get your idea from the clans, like well, from your members and whatnot. And just go in there and go, hey man, what do you think about this? How about we do this for a game? How about and stop being so inclusive, because the people are the reason for leadership. They're the reason why you're there in leadership. Now, some people may not. Some people may do their own thing. Some people may not want to be involved, and that's perfectly okay. But for the ones that do care and want something like that, then that's what I would do. I would reach out to the people that want to change things and kind of work, and okay, here's a game night this night. We'll do this night, and see what people say and see if they hold to it. Now, the people who don't show up and they say they want to do it, then you know where they stand,
Yeah.
And the fact of somebody saying inclusive and safe space, look, man, nobody's guaranteed the minute they get off this console and walk outside that front door that they're going to be safe, especially in some of the, because now console gaming and gaming just in general reaches the masses. So, like, some people live in some bad areas, like in hoods and barrios and stuff like that.
Yep.
They could walk out their front door and just, bam, get popped that day. So to sit there and say, and it's even worse in virtual space, because literally, I was talking to someone not too long ago when I was going to school for computer engineering and internet security, and they were just like, dude, like, it doesn't matter. The first step against any kind of threat is going to be yourself. It doesn't matter what programs you put in place, how many blocks you put in place. You're always going to deal with that real threat, and it exists in the virtual as well as it does. Well, you're not going to die, if they start freaking doing that weird thing I saw on the internet a while back. But anyways, as you hear there, getting off point. It's like,
but it's an old model, bro. It is definitely an old model. Like, the old model of, like, divisions and, like, certain, like, fucking game types, like, that is not going to fly anymore.
No,
like,
it's not.
Like, you see, like Top Doc here, man. He's playing Showrunner right now, right?
Well, I mean, it definitely requires a flexible approach for sure.
Yeah, he's playing Showrunner, but I know that he's a Halo player.
Oh yeah,
he plays all these different. Yeah,
I'm just playing this because my girlfriend was really into it, and I was like, oh wow, that's cool. So I started getting into it so I could teach her to play. And I'm gonna get her a gaming console so then she can play with me. So,
so
I'm
Doc,
not trying to get on Halo.
So you're a younger generational player, right? Mm-hmm. So, like, what got you, like, interested in, like, what we were trying to do, like Ego? Like, what was, like, the whole, like the point?
Well, really, it started out is because I wanted a group of friends to play with, and let's see, I don't have many people who play Halo anymore. I mean, I remember back in, like, Halo 5 in the day how fun it was being in a clan, and I was like, well, I gotta find myself a clan. I mean, I don't want anything that's toxic, because now it just seems like they're either toxic or they're just screwed up. And I saw Ego. It's like, well, they're not really a clan. They don't seem to do all this harsh, like, you gotta wear this item and this item, and you gotta wear this for certain days, and you gotta play ranked and do that. You should make it to where you want to play ranked, and that's sort of what Ego does. It makes me want to play ranked because we all encourage each other instead of making it a requirement. And that's why I joined up with Ego, because I really like the model much better than